In programming, we need to use variables. Variables are things that we give names to, and those names identify values. They're values that we can set during the execution of our program. Absolutely essential in programming. Let's find how we do them in C#. Here are some examples. Here I have a piece of data, hello world. This is called a string. It's a string of characters. I assign it using the equal sign to a variable called myString. The variable is declared as being of the string data type. So in summary, this line of code says I have a variable of the string type, the variable name is myString, and its value is hello world. And you see there are other variables with other types in this program. So for one character, I have a char variable. It's the char data type, the variable name is myChar, and I assign to it a single character. The next line shows an int data type, an integer, a number. It's called myInt, and I assign to it 100. In the next line, I have an int called some other int, but I don't assign to it. I'll need to assign some value later in the program. So in C#, you have the option, when you declare a variable, of either assigning a value straight away, or of just declaring the variable itself and assigning a value later. Next, I have a double called myDouble. A double is a floating point number, and so I can declare that with a decimal point in the value, 100.75. Now, before going any further, I'd like to spend a little time explaining exactly what a variable is. So what exactly is a variable? Well, you could use the old analogy about apples and oranges. Let's assume that you sell oranges. And you do some calculations, you buy some new oranges in, you sell some oranges, and at the end of the day you want to know how many oranges you've got left. Well, if you start adding apples into the calculation, that's not going to tell you the result you want, because you can't add apples to oranges and work out the number of oranges you've got. Calculations on apples are done on apples, on oranges done on oranges. So we could say that an orange is the data type of this particular item, this object. And the apple is this object's data type. It's the same thing in programming. Let's take another example. Let's assume that you have your savings in this envelope and the things that you want to buy, your expenditure, in this envelope. Now, in programming terms, I could say that savings and expenditure, the names are the variable names. So the envelopes are containers for values. The data type is money. Well, for me that's pounds, for you it could be euros or dollars or whatever your local currency is. And again, in programming terms, I would put currency as probably the double data type, because a double is a floating point number. You can have so many pounds or dollars, point something, to indicate so many cents or pennies or whatever currency you're working in. So I'm going to say that this is the savings variable. It's called savings. It has a double data type. This is the expenditure variable. Again, the name is expenditure, and it too has the double data type. So let's see what I've got. Savings. I've got £15 in here. So I can say that the value of the savings variable is 15. Expenditure, nothing in there. So value of the expenditure variable is 0. Now later on I decide to buy something, so I take some money out, £5, take it out of one envelope, put it into the other. Now in programming terms, what have I done? In programming terms, I've subtracted from the value of my savings, I've subtracted 5. The variable name is the same. It's still called savings, but its value has changed. It was 15, now its value is 5. I put 5 into here. Let's just check. There it is. So my expenditure variable now, same data type, it's still a double data type, it still has the same variable name. So when I write any calculations in my program that use the expenditure variable, I still write the same name, but its value has changed. It was 0 and now it's 5. So that fundamentally is how variables in your programs work. You give variables a name which stays the same throughout your program. You give the variable a data type such as double or string or char, and that stays the same in C# throughout your program. But the values can change depending on, for example, the calculations that you might do using those variables. So let me just summarize the syntax for declaring a variable. As I've already explained, you first have to say what the data type is. So you put string, char, int, double, for example, followed by the name of the variable. You can make up a name for your variable. It's normally a normal sequence of characters. Here you can see I've given them names such as my string, my char, my int, or you could put, for example, if you prefer, some underscores to separate the various parts of the name that you've given. You then have to either put a semicolon to show that's the end of the declaration, and you can see I've done that with int, some other int, or you can assign a value to that variable, and you can see I've done that with most of the other variables here. To learn programming in depth, enroll in one of my courses or read one of my books. More information at bitwisebooks.com.